It finally happened. This is what we've been waiting for. Finally, some real news about one of the first contracts Cincinnati has to figure out this offseason before I jump into the report, because I know you guys don't like to wait. Don't forget to subscribe to the Bengals Digest channel. We're getting so close to 1,000. Once again, the goal is to get to 1,000 before the end of February, and I think we can definitely do it. I appreciate it so much for all the love you guys have shown this channel, but let's jump right into the report. Yes, it includes wide receiver Tee Higgins. It is a report that came out today from multiple sources across the league, pretty much confirming what I have talked about multiple times. So let's just go into the report. Sources: Cincinnati Bengals plan to use non-exclusive franchise tag on Tee Higgins for second straight year, like I said before. But this is a little bit different. Before, I said if I see a franchise tag, I'm assuming we're going to trade him. I said if I see Tee Higgins is franchise tagged, I would assume we're going to trade him. This report actually kind of sways my mind a little bit different, so let me just read it. The Bengals plan on placing the non-exclusive franchise tag on Tee Higgins for a second straight year, league sources have confirmed. So this is the tag window. The tag window officially opens on Tuesday, February 18th at 4 p.m. Eastern. So tomorrow, February 18th, Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, the window to officially tag somebody, franchise tag somebody, opens and lasts until Tuesday, March 4th. So the Cincinnati Bengals will have from February 18th to March 4th to franchise tag Tee Higgins for the second straight season. It might be a little harder to read it, so I'm going to read it. Sources say Higgins camp expects, so Higgins and his team expects to get tagged at this point. He would be the top free agent if he were to make it to free agency. Please, let's hope he doesn't get there. That isn't expected to happen, him to get the free agency. The Bengals will tag Higgins by the March 4th deadline. Their why certainly feels different this time around. Last year, the Bengals tagged Higgins, and there wasn't much dialogue about a long-term contract. They kind of just tagged him so he would be on the team again. He was the only player that was tagged by his team last year that didn't get a multi-year extension. I talked about that a few months ago, that Tee Higgins was the only player franchise tagged who was not given an extension. Goes on, this year's feels different. The Bengals plan to sign their star receiver to a long-term deal, sources say. So this is coming from official league sources that the Cincinnati Bengals are planning on signing the star wide receiver to a long-term deal. Higgins changed agents in December, signing with Jamar Chase's agent. So they have the same agent, which is another key factor in why many fans and sources believe that Higgins is, first Higgins wants to stay in Cincinnati, and that he is going to. That's one of the key factors. That move, him signing with a new free agent, or a new agent, Jamar Chase's agent, that move is one of the many reasons why Higgins could stick around in Cincinnati for the foreseeable future. Joe Burrow is another major factor. The star quarterback has made it clear that he wants Higgins in stripes in 2025 and beyond. So do we all. T is a need, yes, Joe Burrow said back in December. Those decisions are ongoing, and I'm confident that I think we're going to be able to do what it takes to bring T back. Joe Burrow recently has even said that he would be willing to go as far as restructure his contract to make sure Tee Higgins and all the other three are back on the Bengals in 2025. The other three, Tee Higgins, Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson, and Mike Gesicki. Higgins wants to return. Tee Higgins has made it very known that he wants to stay in Cincinnati. He wants to play with Jamar Chase, and he wants to play with Joe Burrow. Burrow wants him back, and the Bengals want him back. So everyone in the equation wants him back. Tee Higgins wants to stay in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati wants, especially the fans and the players, want Tee Higgins back. In an ideal world, the two sides would agree to a long-term contract without tag, but that would not happen before the March 4th trade deadline. If it doesn't, so this is saying so let's go back right here. In an ideal world, the two sides would agree on a long-term contract without the tag, but that may not happen before the March 4th deadline. So basically what this is saying is the Bengals have until March 4th to officially extend Tee Higgins, right? So now from tomorrow basically until March 4th, they have time to negotiate with Tee Higgins to get him to an extension for a long-term deal. If that doesn't happen, or they can't come to a decision and agree before the March 4th deadline, then the Bengals would have to use the franchise tag. Let me explain that again. Before March 4th, if Cincinnati and Tee Higgins can't come to an agreement, then the Bengals have confirmed by sources will use their franchise tag Tee Higgins again for the second straight year. So let's go back. to reading. If it doesn't, Cincinnati plans to use the non-exclusive franchise tag for a second straight year. That does mean a team could negotiate a long-term deal with Higgins, but it would cost them 2 first-round picks if the Bengals didn't match the contract, right? That's highly unlikely. Higgins will make $26.18 million on the franchise tag, but those numbers would change if he agrees to a new contract. The numbers have to work, but the Bengals and Higgins are hoping to reach a long-term agreement that would keep him in Cincinnati. Obviously, that is the main goal, to keep T. Higgins in Cincinnati, but there's a lot of things that go into it. Obviously, the contracts, how they are structured, if they're heavy loaded or if they're more balanced or back loaded. Now more days, players are more concerned about the guaranteed money besides just the contract entirely. They're wanting more guaranteed money up front rather than just a long-term deal, which I understand. But that is the main goal. Obviously, every party in this negotiation wants T back in Cincinnati. I know the fans, me included, want T. Higgins back. T. Higgins wants to stay in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow wants T. Higgins to stay in Cincinnati. Jamar Chase wants T. Higgins to stay in Cincinnati. And Cincinnati wants T. Higgins to stay in Cincinnati. The Bengals want T. Higgins to stay in Cincinnati. It is obvious that every party included in this negotiation wants T back in Cincinnati. Even the agent have come out and said, our main goal is to make sure T. Higgins is in Cincinnati for the foreseeable future. That is obviously still up in the air if that's going to happen, but this is what it's going to look like. So going forward, I don't think we'll hear anything tomorrow that he's being tagged, but you never know. Starting tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, Cincinnati and T. Higgins / his agents have until March 4th to come to a long-term deal. If before March 4th they come to a long-term deal, then obviously Cincinnati would have T. Higgins for the foreseeable future, whatever that deal is. And that is the hope and goal for the parties, trying to get a deal before March 4th. If Cincinnati and T. Higgins feel like the negotiations are working, Cincinnati has confirmed via league sources that before the March 4th deadline, if a deal has not gotten close, they will franchise tag him for the second straight year. And that will be before the March 4th deadline. And if he does get franchise tagged, like I said before, I thought if he was getting franchise tagged, it was likely that we were going to trade him. That would still be an option, right? If we were to franchise tag him before March 4th, or it would probably be around March 4th if it felt like, or if Cincinnati felt like a deal wasn't going to be closed before March 4th, then they would franchise tag him. Teams would have the option to still negotiate with T. Higgins, but like the report said, they would, if the Bengals matched that contract, then whoever would be signing T. Higgins would have to pay 2 first-round picks, which is the smart thing for Cincinnati. Obviously, if they don't come to a long-term deal, which is the goal, franchise tagging him is the smartest thing to do. Obviously, the worst thing you can do is just let him walk and let him sign with whoever he wants and not getting anything back. But if you franchise tag him, even if he goes to another team, you would be getting 2 first-round picks. If the Cincinnati Bengals match the contract, you would be rewarded with 2 first-round picks, right? So that's better than nothing. Or if you franchise tag him and trade him, you would still be getting some value for T. Higgins. Obviously, the worst-case scenario would be if Cincinnati does something stupid, which they should never do, is just let him walk in free agency and let him get signed whoever he wants. But if you franchise tag him, you can at least negotiate with T. Higgins and other teams to match the deals and get 2 first-round picks, which would be huge. Not saying I want that to happen, but if that were the road we went down, 2 first-round picks wouldn't hurt. Or you trade T. Higgins and get as much value as you can for T. Higgins. I think you could probably get a second, maybe even a first-round pick, because a lot of teams have pretty much confirmed that they are very high on T. Higgins and are very desperate for wide receivers. So they would be willing to pay a lot for T. Higgins. So you would definitely Cincinnati would have the leverage in trade negotiations, especially if he's tagged. Because if he's franchise tagged, he technically has a 1-year extension in 2025. He would be getting paid $26 million to be a Cincinnati Bengal. So if Cincinnati didn't come to a suitable trade negotiation, right, or T. Higgins doesn't find another team to play with, then he would be a Bengal in 2025 with the franchise tag getting $26 million a year or that year. So I think that was a smart thing for Cincinnati to do. Obviously, we hope it doesn't get to that point where he's franchise tagged. We hope before March 4th that T. Higgins is extended to a contract. But at least we finally have news that has been confirmed that Cincinnati is willing and is going to sign him for the franchise tag, non-exclusive franchise tag, if it gets to that point. Once again, obviously the goal and hope of every Cincinnati fan and Cincinnati Bengals to themselves and Tee Higgins is that a long-term deal will be met and signed before March 4th even comes around, and then we wouldn't even have to get to the point we're talking about a franchise tag. But that is the latest on Tee Higgins. It has been confirmed once again. If it gets to the deadline, Cincinnati, confirmed from league sources, will franchise tag Tee Higgins for the second straight year. But this time a little bit different. Rather than just not expecting a long-term deal, they would be franchise tagging him to hopefully secure a long-term deal for Tee Higgins to be in stripes for the foreseeable future. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Before I go, don't forget to subscribe to the Bengals Digest channel. 13% of you watching right now are subscribed, so please do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button if you love the Bengals as much as me. Hit that subscribe button. I'll be talking about the Cincinnati Bengals every day for this offseason and when the season starts. And we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I think we can hit that before the end of March, or not end of March, definitely the end of March, hopefully, but definitely the end of February. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video. Comment down below what you think about Cincinnati confirming they're going to franchise tag Tee Higgins if it gets to that point. Once again, hopefully it doesn't, but league sources have confirmed Tee Higgins, if it gets to that point, will be franchise tagged for the second straight year. So comment down below what you think about that. But for the Bengals Digest channel, I'm Carson Lokey. I'll see you next time.